Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys. Today's video will be my haul for the month of November 2023, which was a very eventful month as far as collecting goes, and I'm very excited to talk about some of these books with you guys. But a reminder, as always, that if you are looking for any of these books and titles that I'm about to mention or that I have featured on the channel, to use the channel sponsor organicpricebooks.com. You can use the code STAYNERDY for $2 off your order, or when ordering 4 or more books, you can use the code STAYNERDY, ship it together for 5% off that order. Not only is it a great way to save yourself some money, but it's also a great way to help support the channel. So thank you to each of you that do decide to use that code. But without further ado, let's get into the brunt of the video. So obviously, for those of you that do not know, how I typically go about my haul is I usually start with manga, work my way into the smaller publishers, and then wrap up the video with Marvel and DC. But I'm sorry, my manga lovers, I do not have any manga again in this month. I promise to make it up to you next month. I plan on picking up some manga titles that I've been slacking on, so look forward to that. But since we don't have any manga, we will jump immediately into the smaller publishers, so we can go ahead and jump into that now. First up for smaller publishers is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, Lost Years, the hardcover. So this is the follow-up to the Last Ronin storyline. If you enjoyed that story or that setting, that what-if future, dystopian future type of setting that entire story took place in, this is the follow-up. This is where you get a little bit more of a explanation to what is in the tank at the end of The Last Ronin. Obviously, I'm being vague there for those of you that have not read it, but for those of you that have read it, you know what I'm referencing there, so you kind of know what this story dives into. It is a very hopeful story. It is a very fun story. If you like The Last Ronin, you like that future Ninja Turtles storyline, then you get even more of it here. For those of you that haven't read The Last Ronin, I do recommend reading that before reading this. There's no shortage of copies. That book has been reprinted 300 times in multiple formats. It's in Walmart, Target, probably your local supermarket at this point, so get your hands on that before diving into this title. But nonetheless, I am excited to have it and dive deeper into the Last Ronin world, so that does wrap up this book. Next up is Wasted Space, the Cosmic Collection. I have not read this title, and those of you that have been watching the channel for a long time know that makes me beyond excited, because typically 9 times out of 10 what's in my haul are DC and Marvel books, which 9 times out of 10 I've also read those. I'm just recollecting them. So it is very exciting when I get a book that I have not read, and usually that is in the smaller publishers portion of the video or the haul. So this is something I have not read. I haven't even heard of. The only thing that I have heard is that Omar from Near Mint Condition really enjoyed it, and I figured that was enough to look into it. But once I looked into it and saw how beautiful this book is, it comes with a ribbon. It is a very thick and dense story, a lot of content in here, a very glossy finish to the book. I'm a sucker for a book that is well treated and feels important in the hand, and that's exactly what this is. So I am excited to dive in, see if it's something I like, since it is a little bit of a blind buy. And of course, once I do, you guys will see the review. That rhymed. But that wraps up this book, so we can jump to the next. Next up is a book you probably saw in my Hellboy Versus video, which is Hellboy Library Edition Volume 1. There's 7 of these, so this is only Volume 1. Absolutely beautiful book. I don't know if you guys can see, but it has like a velvet faux suede texture to it. The way I'm touching that book is very weird. But I am super excited to be collecting this and adding this to the library. I love Hellboy, always have loved Hellboy, and this is arguably one of the most thought out and incredible worlds that has ever been really created in comics, aside from Marvel and DC, and it's all from the incredible mind of Mike Mignola. You have Hellboy, who is, for lack of a better way of describing it, demon baby. It's brought into this world during World War II by a wizard of sorts named Rasputin, and he said Demon Baby ends up fighting supernatural creatures. I'm being very vague there for obvious reasons, but this is a massive world full of incredible characters, from Abe Sapien to Lobster Johnson to the entire BPRD, and all of those are titles that you can also read into to expand upon your knowledge of the Hellboy universe or the Mignola universe. So incredible book, incredible treatment of this material. This is how I'm going to collect Hellboy, and I now am going to try and collect a lot of those hardcover omnibuses for BPRD and Abe Sapien. So wish me luck on that. That is a feat, but still super happy to start adding this into the collection. Next up is Snow Angels by Jeff Lemire and Jock. Jeff Lemire, I've reviewed one of his books on the channel before, which was Sentient, but he's also known for his run on Animal Man in New 52, Black Hammer, just to name a couple titles. And then Jock is an incredible artist that is known for his art in Batman Black Mirror and Losers, to name a few titles that he's involved in. So definitely a superstar team here, but honestly, what made me buy this book, because it's not something I've read before, is the treatment of the material once again. I don't know if you guys can see the glossy black end pages here on the pages of the comic and the material itself. So cool. It comes with a ribbon as well. It is library size, so it's a very large book. That was the selling point for me. But I do know that the story is very well received. Omnibuddy, or Mitch at Omnibuddy, the channel, did a great overview on this. That was another selling point for this particular title. So if you want to check that out to see if it's something you would enjoy also. But super pumped to get this. Obviously, I'm going to read it here shortly, and I will put out a review once I get to it. So be on the lookout for that. But still, beautiful book. Absolutely beautiful book. Last up for the smaller publishers is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Year 1, the deluxe edition. This is a shout out to Bunkmaster B, who is a massive Power Rangers fan. I thought I was a Power Rangers fan until I watched his videos. He is a Power Ranger fan, and he sold me even more on why I need to get these deluxe editions, as if the cover alone couldn't do that, with the Green Ranger with his helmet off, Tommy Oliver, rest in peace, Jason David Frank also, but incredible series here. Everything you know and love from Power Rangers, but in comic book format, expanding upon that world and those characters, from Jason, the Red Ranger, to Trini, the Yellow, Kimmy, the Pink, Zach, the Black, and Billy, the Blue Ranger. All of the faces and names that you know and love from your childhood, but now going through adventures in comic book format. This is the storyline or the title that leads up to Shattered Grid. So if you know that storyline and Lord Dakin or Draken, whatever the proper term or name is there for that character, if you like that character, this is the title that leads up to that character and that storyline. A Power Rangers multiverse of sorts. So super ambitious, super awesome. Very excited to hunt these downs and these not downs. And hopefully I can get all these deluxe editions in the library, because when they are all lined up with the spines and the covers, absolutely beautiful. Chef's kiss. They knocked it out of the park with these editions. Now to DC, and first up for DC is Batman versus Robin. This is written by Mark Waid, which was the main selling point for this particular title. I've championed him before. He's easily in my top 3 favorite writers in comic books. And of course, a lot of his more recent titles are some of my favorite recent titles. So I had to pick this up. This looks like a small book compared to the last couple that we talked about, but it is a standard size hardcover. So it's not anything smaller. It's just looks smaller compared to the past couple ones, because those were so big. But this obviously is a Batman versus Robin style of story. There is a lot of lead up to Lazarus Planet in this particular title. The lead up issues or titles are World's Finest, Volume 1, Robin or Batman versus Robin, and then Robin by Joshua Williamson. So Those three titles kind of culminate and lead up to Lazarus Planet, which again is the only reason that really I picked this up, other than it being by Mark Waid, because I picked up the Lazarus Planet hardcover in my last haul or 2 hauls ago. So I want to pick up a lot of those gap filler titles, at least the ones that I enjoy. So that's pretty much why this made it into the haul. Now, this made it into the haul because this is probably one of my favorite runs on Batman at this point, and that is Batman by Chip Zdarsky Volume 2. I don't know the name of this volume. The Batman of Gotham. I always forget the minor titles of each volume, but this is the following story from the Failsafe arc, which took place in Volume 1 of Chip Zdarsky's Batman run, and was incredible. A lot of people championed it. A lot of people enjoyed it. I thought it was peak comic books, especially when it comes to a Batman comic. So, of course, I'm going to continue the run, and here we are with Volume 2. I do not think Volume 2 is as strong as Volume 1, but it is still a lot of fun. You have a lot of fan service here. This entire story is very reminiscent to what took place at the end of Final Crisis involving Batman and how that story kind of unfolded. And we have a lot of very similar tropes here where you have Batman in a very interesting scenario that he needs to find his way out, maybe with some help of some characters that we all know and love. Read to find out what I'm referencing there, but it is really good. Chip Zdarsky is no stranger to darker characters. He usually excels at writing them, and Batman is no exception. His run on Batman has been great so far, so I am super pumped to get this Volume 2 in, and hopefully keep collecting this entire run in hardcover format until I eventually kick myself in the head because an omnibus will come out, but whatever, that's the name of the game at this point. Next up is Superman Volume 1 Supercorp. This is the run by Joshua Williamson and Jamal Campbell. Joshua Williamson is quickly becoming a household name at this point, especially when it comes to a lot of the books he's affiliated with at DC. But throughout this entire run, you're going to see a lot of familiar faces, from Jimmy Olsen to Lex Luthor, Lois Lane, and obviously Superman. This is going to be picking up with Clark Kent coming back to the title of Superman, post-War World Saga by Philip Kennedy Johnson. So it is a very, very pivotal and important run. But honestly, the selling point here is Jamal Campbell's art. That is 100% fitting for the character of Superman. There's so much hope and momentum in his panels and his artwork. I could not have chosen a better artist to illustrate Superman on a title that he is coming back to. It is very well deserving and worth checking out for the art alone. But obviously, Joshua Williamson is a superstar writer at this point that a lot of people have enjoyed, and he's fairly well received throughout the community. So if you like Joshua Williamson, check this out. But if you want some incredible art, also check this out. Next up is The Nice House on the Lake, the Deluxe Edition by James Tynion. This is a title from DC that I have not read. This is a more horror-based comic. I have looked into this to see if it was something that I would enjoy, but the synopses that I've read and the videos that I've watched have only confused me more somehow. So I figured, why not just purchase it and find out for myself, because I cannot tell you what's going on in the story from what other people have said. It is a little all over the place as far as the story elements that people depict in either their videos or their reviews, whatever it may be. But I am excited to jump into it and experience it myself and hopefully confuse you all with my review. But I am a huge fan of James Tynion. I've liked pretty much everything that he's written at this point. So even though it's a blind buy, I'm probably going to enjoy it just because I like his stories, and I typically do like horror-based stories, even though they don't necessarily scare me, but I enjoy the genre. So super pumped to get this in. This is a beautiful deluxe edition, and hopefully I can get a review out to you guys here shortly. Next up is The New Frontier, the deluxe edition by Darwin Cook, the legendary Darwin Cook. I just recently did a review on this, which I can leave up above if I don't run out of cards throughout this video, which you guys know I always do. But Such an incredible story, such an essential read when it comes to DC Comics. A story that is full of so much expression and love and hope for the silver and golden age of comics, the era of comics that really made comics what they are today. And that's exactly what you'll find here. You get three characters that typically aren't focused on gaining the main focus throughout this entire story. And I say gaining because they earn it by becoming heroes that we all know and love and respect today. And it is such a great read. Darwin Cook is no longer with us, but he is a legendary creator. He did the writing and the art throughout this entire series, this entire title, and most people regard this as his magnum opus. So if Darwin Cook is a creator that you like, check this out. If you want to see some of his best work, then check this out again. There are some beautiful absolutes out there, but this deluxe edition was just released, so it's probably the easiest way to get it into your possession. Next up is Justice by Jim Krueger and Alex Ross. I don't exactly know the pulse on this title in the comic book community. I think it leans more towards not liking it, but I love this title specifically because of Alex Ross's art. I think this is his magnum opus when it comes to his artwork. His internals and his panel-to-panel work throughout this title, to me, is better than Marvel's. It's better than Kingdom Come. It is absolutely incredible, especially his action sequences. To give a brief synopsis on what the story is: all of the good guys versus all of the bad guys, as vague as possible. But you do have some acts of vengeance from Marvel style of elements also, where you have some villains going up against heroes that they are not typically kind of paired up against, and you get to see how that plays out also. But such a awesome story. I remember collecting this in single issues, great covers, absolutely great covers, but you have some very shocking moments here. Looking at You, Wonder Woman, and a lot of things that you don't necessarily see coming, and again, just full of hope and full of perseverance and why heroes just never give up, even though they may be facing losing and defeat in its face. They always decide to keep fighting, and that is essentially what this story is going to be about. Obviously being purposely vague there, but check it out specifically because of the art. I think this is Alex Ross's best work when it comes to internals, so definitely check it out and let me know what you guys think. Last but not least for DC is the sleeper, the Omnibus, my only DC Omnibus. One aspect to this haul that I forgot is that I got this omnibus and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Year 1 for 50% off during Black Friday. So those were massive pickups, especially for that price. This has a cover price of $100, so I got it for $50. So that is awesome. This is Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, which that creative team needs no introduction at all, especially in the crime noir world. If you're a crime noir comic book reader, check out their titles because they are great. Specifically Killer Be Killed, that is really good stuff. But this is essentially a crime noir superhero style of story with some double agent elements. This does take place, I believe, in the Wildcats universe. This is a Vertigo or Black Label title, so it's not necessarily taking place in DC continuity, but still, I wasn't planning on picking it up, but for 50% off, I'm probably going to pick up any book at that rate, especially an omnibus, so sue me. But I'm very excited to get through this and hopefully get a review out for you guys. Also, a lot of my Gotham Central fans say they enjoy this omnibus also, just because it has the same kind of dark story driven elements throughout the run. So very excited to check it out. And of course, I'll let you know my thoughts. But that does wrap up my DC books, so we can jump into the Marvel books. First up for Marvel is a oversized hardcover, which is a title I've never read, nor have I ever heard of, and that is The 12 by J. Michael Straczynski, who is a writer that I thoroughly enjoy. He has written my favorite Spider-Man run ever, so I decided to check this out. A little story behind this book. This was at Ollie's for $5. It has a cover price of $39.99. I'm gonna pick it up. It's $5. Why not? So here we are. I've never read it. I've never heard of it. I don't have much to tell you guys other than JMS is on it, and I enjoy his writing, and it was $5, so why not? But here we are. That wraps up the book, as vague as that is, because I got nothing else. So we'll jump to the next one. Next up is Star Wars: The High Republic. Apologies for the lighting on this yellow. I know it's very bright, so you probably can't even see the title. But this is Star Wars: The High Republic Phase 1, the Omnibus. This is, for lack of a better way of describing it, the canon version of the Old Republic. This is the Star Wars world pre-Skywalker saga, so this is expanding upon that era of lore. This is a very interesting title because all of this era is told through multiple formats, from novels to young adult graphic novels to comic books to even manga. So if you really want every little nugget of detail and nugget of lore, then you do have to read all of those formats. But with that being said, I think you can read the comic book and still somewhat enjoy it. There's just going to be certain characters and events that are referenced that you may not know all the details about, really. But in the grand scheme of things, we already went through that during episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Star Wars, when Ben Kenobi was going on about the Clone Wars and Luke Skywalker's father, and we had no clue who those characters were, and we still enjoyed those movies. So if you look at it from that type of lens, then you can enjoy this comic book without diving into those millions of other formats. I typically see people shying away from this title because of how much other formats and nuggets of lore that they feel like they have to look into and read, and maybe you're not a novel reader, so you don't want to read the novels. If you read the comic books, you'll get some enjoyment out of it if you're a Star Wars fan, so don't be too shied away or fearful of it. It's still good. It's still a lot of fun. And this is an era of Star Wars that we have not delved into during the canon Disney era. We've only really delved into during the Dark Horse Legends era. So if you want the canon stuff, here we are. Well, we can jump to the next book. Next up is Marvel Zombies Returns, the Omnibus. For lack of better way of describing this, this is a companion omnibus to the Marvel Zombies Zomnibus. This pretty much just collects anything that has the appearance of a zombie or a Marvel zombie of sorts collected in one volume. I do not think this is an essential read to the Marvel Zombies title. It's not a necessity unless you are a huge Marvel Zombies fan. But one of the aspects of this aspects of this that is worth touching on is for my Deadpool fans. This does collect Merc with a Mouth. Honestly, I'd probably say a quarter, if not half of this omnibus is Deadpool Merc with a Mouth. So if you want that title collected in omnibus format, then this is the omnibus you have to get. But other than that, this is just more zombies in the Marvel world or the Marvel multiverse. It's not essential reading. You can definitely get away with just Marvel zombies, but if you want more, this is the omnibus to get also. I did do a review for this, which I can leave up above, but I don't recommend this to absolutely everyone. X-Men: The Fall of the Mutants Omnibus. I've made it fairly clear on the channel before that I'm not planning on picking up those Uncanny X-Men omnibuses. Same reason I'm not picking up the Avengers omnibuses. There's just too many for me. I don't have that shelf space to just collect title-specific omnibuses. I more follow creators or just runs that I enjoy. But I do plan on picking up the X-Men crossover or event omnibuses like Fall of the Mutants or Mutant Massacre or Inferno, which I think Inferno is the only omnibus I have left out of the events and crossovers, at least the earlier ones. But I have said before, I am not the biggest X-Men fan. I typically 9 times out of 10 lean more towards their modern runs just because I enjoyed those. I grew up with those. Those are my X-Men runs, my X-Men teams that I know and love. But with that being said, this era of X-Men is still worth reading and having in the collection, and that's exactly why I picked this up. I do enjoy all of these crossover events and these X-Men specific events. I do enjoy that X-Men during this time period at Marvel was almost like its separate world with its own storyline and plot and crossovers taking place. So I'd still recommend checking these out if you haven't already. But if you really want to collect it, pick up those Uncanny X-Men omnibuses if you really want to do it the right way. But to save shelf space for me, I am only picking up the events. But that's exactly why I picked up this omnibus. Next up is The Incredible Hulk by Peter David, Volume 3. For a while now, I thought this book was out of print. I was never going to get it. I could only find Volume 4 and 5. Here we are. I picked it up. I got the Gary Frank cover that I wanted also. And obviously, Peter David's run on The Incredible Hulk does not need any introduction at this point. This is the run on The Incredible Hulk that really created him to be the character that we all know and love, really established a lot of lore snidbits that we all know and love as well. And this is volume 3, collecting, more importantly, the Future Imperfect storyline, where you have some incredible art by George Perez. So very, very excited to get this omnibus, because this is probably the best omnibus out of the 5, in my opinion, based on the contents. But still, now I need to get 4 and 5 to complete this set. So, you know, it's the never-ending battle of always needing the next book, but still very excited that I was able to find this, especially because I had no idea that it was even still in print or even obtainable, and I thought that I would be waiting for ages to get to this volume 3, but here we are, super pumped. But that wraps up this book. Last but not least, for Marvel, and my haul for November 2023 is Thor by Jason Aaron, Volume 2. I did do a review on this, which I can leave up above, but this volume does wrap up Jason Aaron's run on the character of Thor, his 7-year-long run on the character. It wraps up a lot of loose ends that we all know and love that took place during Jason Aaron's run, and honestly, this volume is where I think it gets so much better. Even though volume 1 and the God Butcher storyline is God tier, I would never refute that, but everything in this omnibus is so great, especially the Jane Foster storyline, which I think has, again, just so much hope, and it's very touching, especially to those of you that may be personally affected by her story and what's taking place with her character during this run, like I have been. So very, very touching stuff here. I love this run. I love this volume. I love both volumes, but this is easily an essential Marvel read, especially in modern comics. This, along with Immortal Hulk by Al Ewing and Venom by Donny Cates, just to name a few, are some of the modern Marvel essential reads. So check this out. There are 2 volumes, like I said, so there's a lot of reading to do, but this is a must read for the character of Thor. But that does wrap up my haul for November 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed filming. I always love filming my hauls. I don't know why. It's just so fun just going off the cuff and just talking about these books and flubbing words. I always enjoy filming these. But comment down below, let me know what was in your haul, what you picked up in the month of November, what books that I picked up that you also picked up. Whatever you'd like to share with me, share down in the comment section below. But if you are now part of the Illuminati, hit that subscribe button to join the community. If you could also do me a favor and hit that thumbs up icon, it means a lot to us on the channel. And if you did enjoy today's video, you can hit that bell icon to turn notifications on for any time this channel puts out content. But once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in every week. And of course, stay nerdy.